Well, hello everyone out there, and welcome to the Smite Draft League. I am Cabbage, joined here on the cast by Gearchief and the wonderful iNooblet on production. And Gearchief, I haven't been around the Smite Draft League all that much, but today we have a match between Shockwaves and Dark Omen. Anything you know about these two teams? Something that might interest me?
Well, I think the big thing is in Shockwaves to see a whole bunch of friendly faces with SwagMaster, and we got Reyhum, so you got to watch out for the mid and soul lane. We know that SwagMaster can become a very oppressive soul laner. Loves the Sun Wukong, especially with his meta and the Bruiser meta that's been allowed. Sun Wukong has just rolled through teams, so you really got to be careful about SwagMaster and what you want to do in that soul lane. But more importantly, Reyhum, who's just been absolutely massive in the mid lane. You cannot give this guy Tiamat, you can't give him Hell, and you gotta watch out for Agni. And now with the Reyhum buffs, I only in my nightmares can I ever imagine what that man's allowed to do in mid if he's not handled properly. So that's two of the big names you're gonna want to watch out for.
Yeah, definitely a lot of strong gods that are up, and one of the stronger gods right now, Karen, being taken away. Across these rosters, are there any picks, as we see the Reyhum also get taken away, that you're really looking at to pick or ban for either of these teams? You mentioned Reyhum being someone to target here, stuff like the Reyhum, maybe the Agni getting target banned, maybe even a Sun Wukong throwing that over at the solo lane. But are there any other gods that you think are really strong right now, or players that you know want to get a specific pick?
We definitely know Kali is something to be terrified of. We've seen Kali get a massive pentakill in a game earlier this season, so the ability to just constantly recover health from the marked kill, just dropping the ultimate where they don't die, it's just she's definitely someone you gotta watch out for, especially if you gotta be wary of the jungler, because if you can't deal with her properly with some type of banish or something to just make sure that that ultimate peters out, then you're just not gonna have fun. She's gonna walk the whole team. As far as that goes, there's no really main gods that I can think of. I know we've had some favorites with Ganesh, with Kali. There's seen some Bakasura and Martikaris, mainly Martikaris, but I always felt like that was a bit of a trap pick and ban. A lot of people would play him in mid, and we'd always find them kind of losing out on the magical damage. So I feel not seeing Marty here, especially after his most recent nerfs, it's kind of a little bit of a breath of fresh air.
A lot of god changes really shaking up the format now and heading into playoffs. I mean, what a way to mix things up right before the big moment for a lot of these teams. Gear, you mentioned the Ganesh earlier. That does get taken off the field. I'm noticing this ban on the Hebo, though, and that's something that stands out to me a little bit. I know that the jungle, you mentioned Kali. I know Pele, also a very strong god right now. Haven't been seeing as much Hebo. Do you think this is a target ban or just something banned out of not wanting to play against it?
It could be both. It could be in the jungle because you don't want a Hebo kind of turn around a corner and just blowing you up with the knockup and the arm cannons and then just chasing you down with the tidal wave. But it could also be just for Reyhum because I played against Reyhum last season and Reyhum was definitely something you had to be worried about, concerned, and had to have a plan for. Because when I was capping my team and I told him we have to make sure we figure out what we want
I
to do with
have
Reyhum.
come
We
to
can't just
cover
let him
this
get things
land
for
in
free.
darkness.
And more strong gods than really can be banned out gear as Chernobog gets locked in, likely going over into the duo lane, but hey, you mentioned just how dominant Reyhum can be. Do you think this could be a flex pick?
I think you want to see this more or less in the dual lane. The ability to rotate two objectives is just huge. So you can sit there, you can farm up, then the rest of your team can say, hey, we want to get this Pyromancer, we want to get this Fire Giant, we want to gank mid, right. I just think I think Chernobog is best used in the duo lane, but we do see Pele in the jungle for Dark Omen. And like you said, a little bit of pathetic ideas coming through. Definitely something to be scared of, especially with the knockups.
Yeah, I mean, Gear, I mentioned it earlier for a reason. God does damage
Wisdom shall
right
be my
now. And a
shield.
god that can help set up that damage as well. This Athena is going to get picked up here for Dark Omen. And looking at the side of Seismic Shockwaves, you know you want to give Reyhum something that he can really perform well on. Gear, if you're on Reyhum's team, which I guess it seems like you have been in the past, if you're playing with Reyhum right here, are you looking to pick up one of his picks later and try to reaction pick, or do you want to
Feel
get him
my
on something
blessing.
solid you know he can perform on now?
I think the advantage of making them waiting longer for Reyham's picks is he's a very solid player, and they have to waste 3 bans to take out most of the mages. That opens up the rest of the field for his teammate. So they're now sitting there wondering, what are we going to do for the jungle? Are we going to start banning out junglers? No, but it leaves a lot open for the jungler for Seismic Shockwave, so they're going to sit there and target Reyhum. And if they don't, then Reyham's just going to punish them for their lack of kind of concern in his role.
And it looks like they are just going to save that mid pick for later. And that Guan Yu is something I haven't seen in a while, going to be matching up into this Sun Wukong over in the solo lane. Sun Wukong, you mentioned being a pick that is heavily prioritized. You think this is a strong pick here into the Guan?
It always is a strong pick, especially if they can manage that Tiger properly. Because every time Guan goes on a Tail of Assault, if you can make sure that the wave is not a problem, and you just stop him right there, that's most of his wave clear immediately done. But I do think the Guan Yu has a lot of utility, big CC immunity with that ultimate, a lot of damage, cooldowns for days, the healing, and sometimes Guan Yu's great in lane, but even better in the team fight phase. And Sun Wukong just it does damage, but that's all Sun Wukong does is big damage in those team fight phase. So Guan Yu just has more utility and ability to kind of keep his teammates alive as well as set them up for bigger things. So if they can play around this Guan Yu, then I think Seismic Shockwave has a big advantage. But if this Sun Wukong just keeps diving the backline and keeping Shockwaves scattered, then I think that's where some Wukongs are really shine. So it's just based on how well Seismic Shockwaves kind of plans their team fights out.
And team fights, even just with these three being locked in, does seem to be the name of the game early on, getting that churn in there as early as you can. But I think my eyes mainly go to the fact that we have a Terra and a Guan, two gods notorious for being able to heal and kind of help their team out. You think that Seismic Shockwaves might be trying to look for a later game draft as the remaining two remain to be locked in?
I think drafting late, I know Reyhum is very big on the hell, so I think that might be where they're going with this. Is you can have triple healing to the point where anti-heal is almost necessary, and it's good and bad because then you're focusing on anti-heal. You're forced into items you may not otherwise want to build. So maybe where Sun Wukong wants to start with a Glad Shield, well now someone was thinking, all right, I got to do a Contagion now, or Thok's got to go the Divine Ruin if if he really wants to deal with that. So but it looks like you're gonna be Jungle Odin, and I gotta say, I really like this. That's a very kind of that's a nice call, audible, if you will, because all of these Dark Omen players and gods can't really get out. Sunwoo can, but that's an expelled ultimate. Seismic Shockwave's gonna
Face the
hover
wrath
the
of a
Morgan Le
sorceress
Fay,
scorned.
and this is dangerous right now for Dark Omen.
Is there something about this draft, just the team fight presence, maybe something to do with a lot of the matchups this have that really screams out to you here? Because it seems like you're really starting to jive with this.
The big issue is Seismic Shockwaves is looking for complete control. With that Odin cage, you're looking to kind of keep him in a confined area, and then you got to blow him up. But it's It's really going to be based on when the Seismic Shockwaves the game. If they can take advantage of that Odin cage, because you don't really have the assassin for damage. Odin's great for damage, but he's got the bird bomb, and then that's kind of it. He's stuck, and he's got to use his spear pulses. But you don't really have all that damage that might come out from, say, like Susanoo or Mercury or just other assassins. So this cage might kind of suffer from lack of damage, or Seismic Shockwaves can just completely control Dark Omen and blow him away, especially with his Freya pick, who also have to expel her ultimate to really get out of that cage. So Dark Omen's at a little bit of a disadvantage, but it just seems they have the damage to pump out. So I think that's where it's going to be, is if Dark Omen can really get their damage out and force Seismic Shockwaves into a corner, then I think Dark Omen really has the advantage here. But if Seismic Shockwaves can take advantage of that Spear Ring and a Terra ultimate, Dark Omen might not really have a chance to do anything.
Yeah, so some thin ice being skated on here by Dark Omen. And just looking at the two drafts that the team has, whenever I see a team fight-oriented comp, I'm usually thinking that they want to try and scale later into the game. But I mean, seeing that Freya on the other side, Gear, do you think either team really has the edge once we do get to that team fight, or do you think it's just play on field who's hitting the ultimates?
Strategy-wise and on paper, it seems that Shockwaves really has like the utility and plan to kind of just execute what they want to. So they can get the Guan Yu stun into the Odin cage and then dump on him after Terra ultimate, and it sounds really good plan wise. But Dark Omen has a simpler plan, which is just dump all the damage. So a lot, the Seismic Shockwaves has the potential for their plan to work impressively well, but it needs to go exactly right every time. But Dark Omen has a simpler plan, which they can have easier chance to execute.
And hey, only one way to really find out whether or not that execute is going to happen as they intended it. Gonna get right here into game one and enjoy. Well, all right, everyone. We are right here in game one between Shockwaves and Dark Omen. Once again, I am Cabbage, joined here on the cast by Gearchief and the wonderful iNooblet on production. And Gearchief, we talked going into this match just about how these drafts are going to play in the team fight come late game, but it's going to take a while to get there. Is there anything that you're expecting to see, maybe some sparks fly here in the early?
It all depends on how aggressive these mid laners go. The Thoth has the advantage of range, and that's one of the most annoying things you can have dealing with the Thoth, is just constantly being poked out because of the hieroglyphic assault through the Sigil of Pain, and then you can't catch up to him because of evade and punish. So Reyhum is really going to have to manipulate this Thoth the best way he can, because Royal just has a lot of utility and an ability to just move around. So this first engage can really spell the rest of the game, whether the Shockwaves get put down and then the Thoth just stays around and just can't be touched, or if Seismic Shockwaves does just pop off and now Royal can't clear as efficiently as they'd like, and then it's just being subject to problems. But it's not looking good right now.
Oh, okay. Looks like Scopey's just going to go down right in the mid lane. A little surprised to see it drop that early, but I guess that's just the potential that the early CC bringing this Odin brings to the team.
And he just allows him to control those early fights. That stun's not good, but Freya trying to get ZakuZz up, manages to dash in the wall and dash out. Not getting the confirmed damage, but definitely poking out Gymkhana. This is getting a bit dicey for Seismic Shockwaves over in dual lane.
Yeah, honestly, who would expect the Freya to be the one having that early pressure? It looks like Ganondad is the one who wants to put a stop to it here. Jim is going to go in, and the blink gets expended from Ganondad, but it's a great whoop to hopefully extend the life of this Freya just a little bit longer. Bird Bomb comes down, and it's a great block using that pillar there from the Terra, but it's not going to be enough, and Fission is going to make it out.
Ganondad just didn't have enough mana. One of the big problems from Odin early, mana manage isn't that great. You have to use so much just to do your damage. and it didn't work out for that second follow-up kill, but it gave him the space to kind of look at the shield buff. But I don't think they were able to really confirm that. Dark Omen was able to actually show up and push out Shockwaves. That's impressive for Dark Omen. They really kind of need some wins going across the board. And with these invades and that pressure from solo lane, it's not looking good. Even though Seismic Shockwaves got the first blood, Dark Omen's not letting their foot off the gas.
Yeah, so seeing this Pele then on the other side of the field, just trying to piggyback off of those invades here, I think you're probably right that this Odin is looking to hit those ults, maybe not looking as much for the farm, but with a Freya on the other side, like you mentioned, maybe having to look for opportunities like this one, trying to get something started as Forerunner's low. SwagMaster almost soloing out on his own, and so an invade. In turn here, Ganondad jumps in onto the blue buff, just charging up the spear as SwagMaster comes in, and they do manage to steal that one away. Trying to chase down Forerunner instead. Scopey's going to be the new target. No kill's going to drop. Instead, just some clapback from Seismic Shockwaves.
Very important to invade the solo early.
Oh my
because that was a nice double wall stun, but unfortunately didn't result in the steal of the buff. But as I was saying before, you really want to put pressure on that solo lane early, because if you can kind of really choke the enemy solo laner of mana, you can just give the advantage to your solo laner so easily, because that's what solo lane is, just throwing abilities. You don't really have the damage too much to clear waves, so it's just constantly throwing your abilities at it. And if your opponent can't really do what they want because they're always out of mana, then your solo laner has a huge advantage. It's called solo lane for a reason though, so you got to make sure you don't waste too many resources there.
I did want to take a look over at the builds here, just seeing the kind of dichotomy of where people's minds are at. Over here in the mid lane, we see what appears to be Book of Thoth start coming out from Reyhum versus Royal, just going to be going into what I assume is a Spear of Desolation on the other side. I know that one probably gives a bit more early presence than the other, so I guess my question for you, Gear, is do you think Reyhum going with the Book of Thoth here is the right play?
You have to be very careful when you're going Spirit Desolation. It gives a lot of power, a lot of penetration. But if you build it early, you're not really getting that passive, especially if it's a slower game. And you're really looking for the stat spike off of it. But now Reyhum's kind of set himself up with this Book of Thoth started. You can look more for the tablet build as well. And that might set him up better going later, where the spear is just it's hoping for more, but the book is setting up for more later. So if you get the book and then you get the tablet and you just start doing big damage, the spear kind of relies on you to be a very kill heavy game. But we got a blink in a cage.
Yeah, Ganondad just jumps in onto Royal, and that Thoth is going to go away thanks to the combined efforts of the jungle and the mid. But coming in now is Scopey. The ultimate comes through, takes the life of the Morgan Le Fay. Now just trying to make their way out as Ganondad continues the chase, is going to miss the spear. And all the way on the right-hand side of the map now, Forerunner forces the ultimate out of SwagMaster. Instead, it's just going to sit up in that somersault cloud, get the healing, and back away. It's a trade in mid lane.
The big issue right now is that we did see the death of Royal, and the shell has been popped for BigBlue. So even if BigBlue does upgrade it to Phantom, Royal is still kind of subject to the next Odin cage. And then at the same time, with only beads, you gotta get the Aegis, or to really dodge those Morgan Le Fay ultimates, or you're gonna get your own Phantom Shell to make sure you can get out, because Thoth is a prime target for those Odin cages. And with the Spear of Deso start, again, talking about this passive, if you're the target of Odin, you have to find a way to kill him, because you're going to get caged and then just blown up, and it's not going to look good. But it looks like we might have a disconnect. And I got to say, I like seeing Seismic Shockwaves at least be a little bit respectful of this.
Back to tower.
Yeah, we got to pause here, so it definitely was a disconnect.
Yeah, well, I guess this gives us a little time. Something else I wanted to kind of go over and talk about. We were discussing sort of the mindset towards stacking and trying to play for later in the game. We see the Transcendence coming out from the Odin on the other side. Pele's building that Soul Eater. But notably in the duo lane, the Chernobog is actually building into Aussie first item rather than that Devo's Gauntlet. Now, I've been playing ADC a lot recently. I've been experimenting with the two. Do you think that going into the late game, the Aussie is not going to matter as much as the Devourer's Gauntlet, or do you think that it's something that really is just up to personal preference here?
I'm not very. I don't play a lot of duo, so I wouldn't know. I couldn't give a professional opinion, but in my idea, the trade-off is you get a lot of. I think you feel like you get a lot more power off the Devos, but you get the penetration off Aussie, and then as well as that passive on Aussie, right? Because it's like almost a get out of jail free card if you're 1v1ing. If you're sometimes even if you're 3v1ing too, because you can hit those autos, you can heal for more damage and you're being dealt when everyone's abilities are on cooldown. So Aussie is definitely more of a oh no moment item, so you can kind of have a way to turn those fights around. Where Devos is more of an oppressive item, where it's like I'm gonna build this and I'm just gonna walk at you. So Aussie might be a little bit more safe, where Devos is a bit more aggressive, and I could also be proven completely wrong with that, but. That's my opinion on it. But it looks like we're gonna get back in game, and I do believe Fission did not die. So a lot of respect for Seismic Shockwaves just not taking the free kill there.
Well, I guess something else I wanted to touch on, kind of going back to that Aussie conversation, is do we think that might kind of give us a little bit of info as to where ZakuZz's head is at here? Maybe trying to look for some fights into that Freya where you're going to be pushing that passive to its utmost limit.
I think that is the case, especially with the stim for Chernobog. It's always just great to kind of have that, because if Freya's sitting there hitting you and you can out heal that stuff, and you're just waiting for her buff to go down, then it gives you a lot of opportunities, because you don't necessarily need to out damage her, you just need to out heal her damage. So if you can put her in an awkward spot where her buff is down, but you're still throwing yours because you lived through hers through the Aussie procs, then that just gives you that advantage. But it's also a dangerous game to be playing in itself, because you're kind of tempting fate with each Freya auto that's connecting with you. So it's got to be tested really. But oh, here comes Ganondad with another cage.
This is just how disruptive this Odin cage is. No hope for Scopey here on the Pele. And without the Freya being here, it looks like Gold Fury might be the call.
I love this call, because they know that Scopey's done. They don't see Fish. They know Fission's DC'd, so you got to take advantage of it in some way, where the fact is, you have this really for free. And just take it and push their lead. But oh, Reyhum's stuck. Does ult, and it's not looking good for Royal.
Yeah, Royal ends up missing that final judgment there, both onto the Fury thanks to a good knockup, and missing it onto Reyhum as well. So with extra gold here in the pocket of Seismic Shockwaves, I mean, we're looking at a comp that wants to get to that team fight phase. In Gear, I think they're almost there.
Great Gold Fury for Seismic Shockwaves, and good job for Reyhum from disrupting the Thoth and not allowing the final judgment to come through for the steal. And Reyhum does manage to get out of there with his life too. So no one really was lost there for Seismic Shockwaves. Just a great overall call, knowing that the ADC is kind of a non-factor due to the DC. Knowing that you just killed the jungler, so with 4 people over there, it was a 4-on-2 if Dark Omen showed up. And that was just a good call around. Got to push your lead and really put it towards the end game, because I've seen a lot of teams just not take advantage of that space that they've created, that opportunity and time to steal or to confirm that Gold Fury. And seeing Shockwaves do it just proves that they're really here to win this.
Definitely taking advantage of everything that they can. Already all the way here in right. Forerunner gets the ultimate forced out. Decides actually to go back in. So that's the Odin cage is going to get dropped. But Ganondad maybe taking a little more damage than he bargained for. Athena ult comes through, does a lot of damage here. And Ganondad not getting what he wanted out of that gank. SwagMaster starting to take a little more damage than he would like as well. The Talos ult comes through. It's not enough to deal damage to push them off. Thanks to his shell, he gets to survive, but just a little bit longer. The Jingu Bong is going to take the life And that is going to be, it appears to be the resolution of this fight over in solo. Royal just taking a look-see over here. But even down there, Freya, Dark Omens still have teeth.
Forerunner being absolutely massive in that fight. But the Cloud Somersault really helps because he's able to get out of the Odin cage or out of any really issue. So yeah, hop up in the air and your minion just starts taking some beatings while you heal. And then you got Ganondad just blinking into everything. He just got caught. But it looks like he got caught again.
How many times is this going to happen? This Odin just gets his life taken away so fast, but Reyhum is here. And Scopey not going to do so hot this time. Royal now trying to make his way out, but trapped between 3 members of Seismic Shockwaves. BigBlue's here, but I don't know if the Athena is going to be enough. Gets hit by the Dragonflight, trying to run away. Avoids the Bird Bomb, charging up the Final Judgment. Not enough. ZakuZz credited for the kill there. So backing up, grabbing these Oracles, and taking their well-earned prize.
Ganondad's been really aggressive and just a lot of W keying from Ganondad, but it seems to always pay off most of the time. That gank and soul lane, we can kind of see it struggling a bit, but we see it really paying off with a lot of these bird bombs into the cages. So you gotta give him props because he's just taking, it's like, all right, my life might be forfeit here, but at least he's gonna set up for the rest of my team, or I'm gonna bait you into trying to kill me, and then it's gonna turn around for you. So Dark Omen kind of need to take advantage of Ganondad's over-aggressiveness, where it's, hey, we know he's going to blink and jump. Let's burn the blink out of him. We can get the cage when we want to get the cage on our own terms, and then we can kind of just move forward with whatever. So that seems like the best strategy for Dark Omen going forward, and I don't know if the idea really should be harassing ZakuZz. Both players being 3 levels down on him, ZakuZz, I would have confidence to be able to turn that fight around easily.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of brings us to what is kind of the elephant in the room right now, which is Fishin is still not being here. Now, despite not being here, his team, well, as I say that, Scopey going to get scoped out there, but the team of Dark Omen, despite not having an entire Freya, has still been able to fight back decently well where it counts. Now, when Fishin does come back, he'll be a full 9 levels down, so that just opens up Seismic Shockwaves to do things like this and pull the Fury.
Another good idea, just trying to push the lead that they have. We see a lot of level discrepancies, so Dark Omen's really got to try to steal this. It's not looking good right now.
Looks like Shockwaves were able to secure it. Royal's going to lose his life in the process of trying to steal it away. BigBlue now trying to make his way out, but I don't think the Athena is long for this world. Ganondad finishes off the support of Dark Omen, and they're going to back off. They take the Fury and 2 and continue to take the lead in this game.
It's hard to fault Dark Omen for trying to go for that. We can sit there and point out levels that there was only 2 and a 4, 2 and a 5, however many it was. But they're in a position where they have to take risks. They have to get the gold Fury, they have to get XP, and dying doesn't really hurt them too much, but it's just, Scopey's just getting caught out time and time again. It's not looking good.
Yeah, caught out yet again inside the cage. Forerunner trying to make a difference, trying to finish off this Morgan Le Fay. The Chernobog's going to ult on over, and thanks to the wonderful peel from Gymkhana on the Terra, ZakuZz is going to finish off the Sun Wukong, and Royal does manage to dash away, trying to turn some damage back around onto Ganondad, but instead just going to back up and take this Pyro.
Dark Omen's in a really tough spot, just to point out the obvious. And I mean, it's hard to kind of fathom a situation in which they can really kind of take this back. Their Fishin has reconnected though, but being a Freya, I don't know how much Fishin's going to be able to do. And then it also weighs on how well Seismic Shockwaves wants to allow him to farm. Are Seismic Shockwaves going to be, alright, we have the map now, let's just leave Fishin alone? Or is it going to be, hey, we can't let this Freya get online ever. Sorry, dude, we let you DC and didn't kill you, but now that you're alive, we can't ignore the fact that you're level 7 and we can't let you get on point. We need to keep you down. And I wouldn't be able to necessarily fault them for that. It's a legitimate strategy, and this is a competitive league after all. Stuff happens and it stinks, but That's what you have to do. You have to kind of take advantage of the situations because you want to win, right? There's a prize at the end of the tunnel here for this tournament, this league. So sorry, Fishin, but you're kind of out of luck right now.
It's very unfortunate that this happened in playoffs, but I think despite that, it is admirable how Dark Omen has managed to perform despite all of the mishaps so far. And they continue to try and fight back as much as they can. Ganondad is forced into using his ultimate. Scopey is going to blink on through. Royal did fall in the mid lane, and ZakuZz comes in trying to help his jungler, and the jump in. ZakuZz level 17 is just unstoppable right now on this Chernabog. Able to tank up pretty much everything. Fishin not going to do much, only level 8. So the gold lead, being 10k at this point hurts, but I think what hurts even more is just this indescribable experience lead.
Most of that is gonna be the difference, at least, is gonna be in that duo lane because you had someone who wasn't there for most of the game, Fishin just getting back, so it's hard to really compare the two teams when you literally have one teammate who's half the level of their opponent due to DC, or even more so. So it just Dark Omen's in a tough spot, and I'll reiterate again. I think they need to intelligently take advantage of Ganondad's over-aggression. They almost had him in that last fight. Problem was Scopey just got too aggressive, and in return, and was too busy going for that kill, got caught out and split up, and then just got picked apart. So it's just Dark Omen now does have a chance, but they have to be smart with how they take each engagement. It's gonna have to be a surgical procedure, but SwagMaster gets a kill on Scopey, and Forerunner doesn't look long for this world.
Yeah, the 2v2 didn't go so hot for them, but BigBlue coming in hoping to turn things around. Keep in mind, SwagMaster only sitting on one item of pure Fizz D, but no Maj D. So Royal comes in, lining up the ultimate. Unnecessary, though, as Forerunner gets the kill onto the Guan Yu, but with so many members of Dark Omen only in right, Fishin, the only one here in left, Seismic Shockwaves are going to pull the Fury.
Reyhum definitely needs to address Fishin.
Oh,
Fishin cannot be allowed to just sit here and try to steal this up in the air. Dark Omen steals it!
He got it! You're going to die for that, but you got it. So that's really what matters here. Fishin, the moral victory, takes the Fury. So gets his team a little something, and hey, you're only level 9, so that respawn timer is going to be mighty short.
That's exactly what Seismic Shockwaves couldn't allow happen. You saw Fishin around the corner. Reyhum is 18, not 18 to the Fishin's 8 or 9, whatever he was at the time. You can't let that happen. I understand trying to be, like, respectable, but it's a lead. The Fishin's back, and if he's sitting there, that's his own choice to be up on the enemy team while they're doing Gold Fury. And honestly, you had to deal with him. You couldn't let him do that. It was the one thing you could not let him do. And that death is essentially worthless to him. He was level 9, level 8. So what? He's just gonna come back. That's a big gain for the rest of Dark Omen. So Seismic Shockwaves got very cocky there, and they might end up paying for it.
Well, Gear, the longer this game goes on, once people start to hit level 20, that experience is going to close up very fast here between the two teams. And while builds are still going to be an issue with Freya, once you get those 3 rings online, that's really where you can start to say that you're doing your part. So we really didn't expect Freya to do all that much early on anyways, though it would have been helpful to have her now. So once that Freya does get online, do you think that Dark Omen might be able to find some sort of miracle team fight?
It's going to be difficult. We've seen Ganondad with these big cages to really split up Dark Omen, but Seismic Shockwaves might be getting a bit too confident in what they can do, so Dark Omen kind of needs to rely on the errors of Seismic Shockwaves and need to exploit each and every one of them. But Seismic Shockwaves also can't allow it to get to that point. You know, you have to make sure your mistakes are small and almost inconsequential. And you really got to look for leads everywhere you can do, because we see them poking out Forerunner right now, but what do they get out of this? It's a lot of nothing happening. Meanwhile, you got Fishin taking towers down and gaining levels. it's a lot of nothing is happening on the way of the Order team. Forerunner might die. Even if Forerunner dies here and they get this tower, I still think Dark Omen kind of wins this, but it's looking like a big team fight right now.
Yeah, big team fight. BigBlue ults in. Forerunner is just sitting up in the somersault cloud. BigBlue still above half HP. Royal just sitting in the back, buying time for the rest of his team to go farm up the map. Forerunner trying to make it back under tower, as is the Athena. Blink going to come through. That's going to get all 3 members of Dark Omen out of there. So much dropped here by Seismic Shockwaves, but they're not really able to get anything done. Instead, Dark Omen get a bit of farm. This Freya hits level 13. They're pushing down this right-hand tower, and I can't help but feel like they could have gotten more out of this. Forerunner, though, might get caught out here. Both the tanks are getting incredibly low.
Ooh,
Shell
good.
gets burned. BigBlue gets burned as well. Royal now dashing away, trying to line up the route. Instead,
Scopey from behind.
both relics, but Scopey comes in with the ultimate, gets the life of the support, and gets both of the backliners down to halves, all while 3 levels down. Fishin in the mid lane has to back, who's running away from SwagMaster that entire time that fight was going on.
Scopey being there was huge because it scared the rest of Dark Omen away to the point where they couldn't really siege that Phoenix. And getting that T2 definitely kind of made them the winners for Shockwaves, because they were able to take that T2 and they didn't lose theirs in dual lane. But I mean, Fishin got levels, he got towers, he proxy farmed, and now it might just turn into a big issue.
Yeah, 5-on-5 here. SwagMaster is going to get picked up and taken out, and suddenly Dark Omen from 10k down are finding these team fights wins, and it seems like every opportunity they have had to take an even fight in terms of positioning against a team that's so far ahead, they've been winning, Gear.
And this is a huge issue. When you're used to winning the entire game or being ahead, you don't really expect the damage to come out of the enemy team, especially when you've just been completely farming them. But then all of a sudden, the items are up, the levels are caught up, and you only level 20 once, and you're just not used to the damage that comes out. So it's not looking good right now for Seismic Shockwaves, as Dark Omen does take the Gold Fury, and Gymkhana is looking worse for wear, but here comes ZakuZz.
Gymkhana isn't actually going to lose his own life. Instead, Scopey and BigBlue are going to be the ones to fall. This Terra just a little bit too tanky. Forerunner now just trying to look for an opportunity. Can't quite find the opportunity to get the kill on to that support. Instead, just going to throw the Jingle Bong and then run away as Ganondad throws the stun and decides it's best here to back off. But with 2 members being down over on Dark Omen, Seismic Shockwaves look to this Fire Giant for the first time this game.
Seismic Shockwaves have to be very careful.
Oh,
big numbers from Ganondad. Can Royal get away with a little bit of health? Shotgun Last Judgment doesn't work. The tracking basketball does find its way onto Royal, but Seismic Shockwaves forced to drop the Fire Giant they really wanted to pick up, and
no, they got it.
They did get it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a huge. I guess I'm seeing red, orange. I don't know what I thought they were wearing, but that's a big issue. Royal died essentially for nothing. Ganondad's aggressiveness really paid out. It's not looking good. In Seismic Shockwaves looking really healthy right now, looking to siege this Phoenix. But one thing I actually learned this though. We're looking at the Titans on the left. Apparently in a 1-on-1, Chaos Titan always wins, so Dark Omen does have the advantage there.
That is true, though we aren't really counting the bust from the Stygian Beacon. But BigBlue just gets caught out under this Phoenix. The Phoenix is going to fall. So is the life of the support in the mid laner. Shortly to follow. Ganondad jumps over the wall. Fishin is going to die as well. The backline off the board. That's most of the damage. As Forerunner gets trapped in, but no, that is actually his clone. He was sitting up safely in the Somersault Cloud that entire time. Now, I think we're going to see the 2 Phoenixes go down, as well as that tower in left, with the Titans notably MIA.
That is so unfortunate. And
the minions are so confused in base look.
They don't know what to do. It's such an awkward situation too. And honestly, that's exactly what Dark Omen needed. because now they can wait till Seismic Shockwaves takes a bad fight and possibly turn it around. So Dark Omen got insanely lucky there. If I were Shockwaves, I'd probably try to send my Soul Laner there just to kill it quicker so we can step up to the Titan. But we also knew that Swagmaster was really valuable in that last fight. I can understand why they didn't exactly do that. But might be the break that Dark Omen needed, or it might just be kind of just the life support beeping for a little while longer, and we already know the end of the story. But the one thing I gotta say in that last fight, though, Ganondad is on top of these Dash Gods. Poor Royal is just getting caught so much in that cage with no way out, and just gets blown up and slam dunked. It is tough to be Royal this game.
And Gear, I find it very, very funny how Freya has 4 completed items, one of them being a Typhon's Fang, and is still only level 16.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you get a lot of gold from minions, so I can kind of see that. And you're also getting that passive gold even when you're AFK. So there's that too. You're getting the passive gold for just sitting in Fountain and you're just not getting any passive levels. So it does make sense. But I will say Fission's done a really good job at keeping up and also not being taken advantage of with only 2 deaths. You would think they'd really just sit on Fission to make him pay. But they opted for the other thing, the other idea for just taking advantage of the map and just the fact that, alright, we know where Fission's going to be, so we don't have to worry about the interruption on the Gold Fury or the Pyromancer. Fission's even more scared of us than we are of him. We're looking for another Phoenix Siege, and this time the Titans aren't out and about. Dark Omen's not in a good spot.
Yeah, Forerunner wasn't even here. Blink in, but look how fast that Phoenix burns, and BigBlue is shortly to follow. Trapped inside the cage was Royal as well, and so support in mid lane gone, and I don't think, Gear, there is enough damage for Dark Omen to be able to defend this Titan. It's going to come down to half. They're trying their best to defend this, but Fission up in the ultimate not going to be enough. Titan is going to fall, and Seismic Shockwaves take game 1. Well, a tough break over there for Dark Omen, but Seismic Shockwaves, they really put in the effort, made sure that they were taking advantage of every opportunity they had as much as they can, but some signs of life throughout that game from Dark Omen as well.
They really hold it in there too, especially when they're losing their dual laner for so long. And Freya was just absent for most of the game, and it's not an easy god to kind of catch up on too. You're really reliant on those stim autos. So Fission really had a Herculean task trying to catch up in levels and in gold. So that was the big issue, but they weren't going down without a fight. There was a lot of times when you think the game could swing one way or the other, but the Odin pick from Ganondad just became huge. Locked down Royal to the point where every team fight, it was just a matter of how quick was Royal going to disappear, and there was no place to go. Caught him with the cage every single time, and I don't think that BigBlue got the Phantom Shell. And even so, when BigBlue, if BigBlue did, there was no. Blue initiated most of the time. It was always a dash and a taunt. Meanwhile, Royal's trying to stay in the back and just do what Thoth does at a range. So when Ganondad finally got to Royal, or when he eventually did, it was guaranteed. Blue was out of place, blown up, and just wasn't there to get Royal out of there with a shield or a shell. So if they're gonna run this back, I want to see Blue kind of be there to help the teammates who need it, because in that game, Blue really needed it. You could see it in the end half there. Every time that Ganondad got close, it was a cage, a dunk, and a spear right to the face, and Blue was insanely low with no way out. And you know Royal needed the help, and Royal just kind of didn't get it.
And I guess to launch into another point here, looking at Royal again, 7.9k damage. Over in the dual lane, Fission, despite not being there for I think the majority of the match, outdamaged the Thoth in the mid lane, and I think that is probably going to say something about just how efficient this Odin was.
Yeah, I mean, you can't do damage if you're stuck in a grayscale. And Thoth just was stuck. That's what he was. He was stuck in that cage, and he was right next to Odin's side the entire time. So it if next game I want them to see. I want to try to protect Royal if that's going to happen again. If you're going to give him such a guy that's going to be caught. So let's say he chooses a mage that has a leap. I don't even know if any mages really have leaps. But let's say just mage has leaps and Ganondad goes with Willix, right? I want to see someone try to help him out in some way or another, eat a knockup, right? Like I'm just talking about you got to be there for the rest of your team because it just seems like Royal was hung out to dry for most of that game.
Well, we're going to see how things go, but we're going to throw things over to a quick break, get things ready for you all. We'll be right back. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Smite Draft League. As before, I'm Cabbage, joined here on the cast by Gearchief and the wonderful Nooblet on production. And Gearchief, Shockwaves took the previous game in pretty convincing fashion. Did unfortunately have a DC in that game before Dark Omen had to play without Fission for a lot of it. Still got to see some good play from both teams, and do you still think there's some stuff that can be gleaned going into game two?
It's really hard to kind of pick apart what essentially went wrong or went right too much because obviously Dark Omen played without their ADC for most of that, and when they had their ADC back, there's not much you can do when you're Freya down 9, 10, 11 levels. So it, it's just a lot of it's hard to really kind of say what went wrong, I guess. But the big things we can pick out was Seismic Shockwaves. Sorry, Seismic Shockwaves was really able to be aggressive towards the end there. Ganondad was just jumping in and constantly caught Royal out with the cage, and there was nowhere for that Thoth to dash. So that was really good. And then, if I have any kind of criticism for Dark Omen, it's let your solo engage and have your support kind of uh not disengage, but just be there to help out the back line because every time that blue went in and dashed, Royal just got caged and caught, and there was no shell or no phantom to really get him out of that cage. So those are the big notes. Is a lot of great aggressiveness coming out of Shockwaves, and for Dark Omen, kind of protect the back line a little bit better.
Well, I think another adaptation being made here by Dark Omen is taking that Chernobog off the table. Just a really strong god right now, and I think despite Fission not being in most of that game, still apart from that, just showed how strong it was being able to rotate into a lot of these fights. Pele also being taken off the field, so we're going to see some different picks across the board. But I think notably you talked about that Kali, some other strong picks that are still left open.
I think Susanoo would be the best one to kind of pick out jungle wise. There's a whole bunch of mages still wide open for Reyhum, but Shockwaves might decide to choose their mid a bit last, knowing Reyhum's god pool is a bit bigger than they really need to worry about, kind of forcing Dark Omen to pick mage bans and open up the rest of the team. And even so, they're forced Dark Omen to kind of open their hand early on mages because maybe they want to start taking something away from Shockwaves. But with the final ban for Sunwoo, I think that was very appropriate. Forerunner was absolutely insane on that Sunwoo. We saw a gank from Ganondad with Swag trying to get Forerunner out, but it just wasn't enough. Forerunner was able to actually turn the whole fight around as Sun Wukong. So appropriate ban. With Hebo not being banned though, we see a pick, and I'm curious. Do you think he's going to jungle, or do you think he's going to go to mid?
Honestly, I think it really is going to depend on what Seismic Shockwaves pick up here. We did say Hebo got banned last game, but banned by Dark Omen,
We
so
make
maybe a
wars so
pick that
that
they
we may
think
live
is
in
really strong.
peace.
Another pick that's also very strong that was also banned in the previous game is going to be this Amaterasu picked up in the top two for Seismic Shockwaves. The other one still left on the table, but getting a look at Ama here in the solo
Wisdom
lane
shall
brings
be
a
my
little bit of a,
shield.
a different identity to the solo lane.
Athena, Athena's always a good pick. You always have the ability to turn a whole fight that taunt lasts forever, and it's a form of displacement that doesn't matter if you're knock up, knock back immune, or can't be pulled or something like that. And it always interrupts abilities. So Athena's always a solid pick with the Feather Olympus rotation. Uh, and I think it's more a pick that Shockwaves wanted, and maybe last game Dark Omen took away and didn't let Shockwaves have, rather than kind of wanting to pick it because it seemed Blue was a bit. It was also
Death comes by
impressive
night.
taunts and teleports around, but maybe there's a different god that Blue feels more comfortable on. The Jablanc, however, I got horror stories about this guy in my time at the SDL. I had teammates when the lights went out, teammates found their way in the center of giant abilities that just didn't make any sense. It was weird. They always found themselves in some type of giant circle of the enemy team when the lights went out. But it also allows for a lot better Phoenix defenses too, because if you don't know how far away you are from that Phoenix, and you're just sitting there shooting autos blindly, then it's a great time waster. So I'm really liking the Jablanc for the Dark Omen, and Geb is also a really defensive and solid pick. a lot of counter initiation coming with the shield, the knockup, and the cataclysm. Odin coming back, and you know who's that's going to. And I'm kind of nervous for Dark Omen. Zablanc stuck with the dash, Geb's stuck with a rollout, and Hebo can't get out of that cage. This might be another huge game for Ganondad.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see. Although this time with at least hopefully if you're Dark Omen fishing, not DCing it, it might be a little bit different of a story. We did see some over aggression from Ganondad in the previous game. The X Ball was taken off the field last game, and so that's yet another pick that was banned out that gets taken here. This time over in the hands of Fishin. I do want to take a look at this Geb though. Looking at the matchup that the Geb has into the, I think, Athena and the Amaterasu. Do you like that as just a way to maybe cleanse from that dazzling offensive or get people out of the taunt?
I think that shield is really more of a big thing when it comes to single target big CC, something like Fenrir pull, maybe even a Willix pull, or execution from Mao Kwang cleansing the CC there, because those are single target really abilities, so the game can really be big there. As well for the taunt, I mean, it's good if only one person's being taunted. It's good if only one person's being stunned. But if they're in the middle of the fight and they're going off, you're kind of forced to pick and choose who you kind of want to save if yourself don't get taunted. So it's a big risk and just something that Dark Omen's gonna have to look into. Rama though, I gotta love seeing a Rama because I just love seeing the snipes. They have not disappointed the rest of the game, the rest of the season. And I really want to see ZakuZz pull out some of those big, long range no scopes.
I mean, seeing the Rama get locked in, I know Rama very strong pick and definitely has a lot of things that it can do, but into the X
You
Ball is
are
what
not yet
surprises me a
ready
little because
to become the
as
Jade
far
Emperor.
as I know in terms of the matchups, X Ball does tend to really pressure out Rama in the lane, just able to box a good bit better than Rama can, and so might see Fishin try to get aggressive over there, although with a Geb, might not be happening that early. Yu Huang is going to be the mid lane pickup here from Dark Omen, so some safety there, some setup with the dueling dragons. Just looking at the overall identity as we wait for Dark Omen's fifth pick, are you liking how this draft is coming together, or does it not really seem held together by anything?
When I see Dark Omen, I see the best word I can think of besides the Hebo is safety. Because you have the Geb Shield, which the CC and the big Cataclysm, the Darkness, followed by the CC immune dash, a lot of safety for Yu Huang, and even Osiris to be able to walk through that Odin cage, hop around it. It seems like Dark Omen is just trying to be safe, where Seismic Shockwaves is just trying to be aggressive. So the big issue is Dark Omen's kind of playstyle is not to lose, where Seismic Shockwaves is trying to win. And most of the time, if you're set to try to win, you have the advantage because you have the play style and you have the mentality and the ability, the win condition to actually win. Where if you're trying to just not get farmed, not lose, that's great. You can manage it, but you're really lacking on the win condition. So they're really going to be relying on Scopey, who I think is kind of the win con with the big tidal wave and the big damage from Hebo, where everyone else is just going to be like the subsequent damage around Scopey. So there is a win con there, but just Dark Omen just seems very safe. For Seismic Shockwaves, I could believe any of these, minus the Athena, can really take it to win, can be a big factor. So Dark Omen has a lot more to be exploited, and Seismic Shockwaves has a lot more ability to exploit. And I think that might be a big problem in coming in the second game.
Looking here at the draft of Seismic Shockwaves, I'm going to bring up something that I didn't really think too hard about until now, and that's that we have that Amaterasu and that Odin and that Athena, right? Now, I don't know if you know this, but I tend to be a bit of a betting man in Smite picks and bans, albeit a very unlucky betting man. My current record of getting predictions is 2-27. So I'm going to try and maybe improve that record a bit here in
You
a
let me know what
little
you're
bit
gonna
of a
bet on, and
spicy
I'll bet
way.
against you.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Just
So So I'm betting that this is going to be Amaterasu jungle, Odin solo, Athena support.
I think you got those mixed up. Yeah, there's no way that Ganondad does not take the Odin again into the jungle. I would love to
That's
get
what he
Kuki.
wants you to think.
I would love to get Kuki Wild with you, and I think the Kuki Wild would be Odin support, Athena solo, Amaterasu jungle. But I guess we got to wait a little bit to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think we actually have to wait no longer here. Sounds like we're ready to hop right into game. Let's see who's right. If either of us, it could just be probably the normal thing that we think it is.
It's
So
gonna be Ganondad jungle. Ganondad Odin.
alrighty, well, here we are in game, and it seems that both of us are in fact wrong. They are going to be going probably what was the most obvious lineup here with Ama solo, Ganondad in the jungle on this Odin, and then running the Athena in support. Well, Garrett was fun while it lasted.
It sure was. I mean, you gotta have fun with it, right? That's the whole name of the game. But I'm kind of concerned for Scopey a little bit. We saw Scopey kind of get picked early last game, and I don't know if this hero really has the damage or the safety to take these fights early. So I'm just a bit concerned for Scopey if they're going to be as aggressive as they were in Wave 1 last time, or if they might be able to dance around it. So this first engagement is going to be a bit of a problem with the Thoth being essentially almost as safe as the Yu Huang without a Odin to kind of threaten Reyhum down. So Dark Omen's in a pretty tight spot.
And just looking at the kind of phases of the game again, we see Ganondad on this Odin. We've seen how aggressive he can get. Do you think that Dark Omen this time are maybe looking to try and match some of the pressure that this Odin has, or do you think that they're just going to try and farm it up?
I think so we've seen Scopey try a whole bunch of early invades, which is really huge, but a lot of pressure, and Ganondad's right on top of us. It doesn't look good.
Scopey just trying to run away, but it looks like the spear is going to miss. Great juke there from Scopey. Reyhum not able to finish off the kill either, and Royal with an excellent knockup. Going to extend the life of that Hebo and stop First Blood from coming through for Seismic Shockwaves.
Almost a rehash of what happened in Game 1. I'd love to see the learning from Scopey and just the big juke shoes to dodge that basketball hurling to be pegged towards his head. And it's scary. It's scary at least, but Swagmaster should be terrified with that Odin sickle going through waves, but ZakuZz is in trouble.
Yeah, ZakuZz has to back up here, but so do Fishin and BigBlue. Ganondad is on the way over, and with Royal sitting in the back, Ganondad trying to line up the spear onto someone, just pulls the beads here off of Fishin, but this Odin has been hitting almost every target with these spears, and it definitely looks like a pick that Ganondad pretty confident with.
Those beads are huge because now it allows the Athena to be a bit more aggressive, and it puts the fear of God into Fishin, where the dash is CC immune after a couple frames. You can easily be taunted out of it, and there's no beads to kind of fall back and save you now. So you have to be careful. You have to be careful. Otherwise, you're just going to get caught in a fight you don't want to be in. Ganondad's coming out like Royal sees him!
Oh, that killed?
Oh no!
Scopey! Scopey's gonna go down too. Reyhum comes through and finishes off the jungler. I'm still stuck on the bird bomb. Dealt how much?
It's an early bird bomb, dude. You just max that shield. You just pop the shield out. Just keep leveling that thing. And again, that's just been huge with those hits. Level 4, you knew there was no way that wasn't gonna kill. You saw how low Royal was and how oblivious he was to Ganondad coming in from the side. It just, you knew it was gonna happen.
Did Scopey not even see him there?
I don't think Scopey did, which
Oh
begs the question is, what was he being told? Or no, Scopey definitely saw him.
Yeah,
Scopey
okay,
saw him.
Yeah. Why did he stay there?
Yeah, that's what, like, I don't know. Because I'm trying to sit there. I don't think Royal saw him. I don't know if Royal really knew how close Ganondad was.
Uh-huh.
But I think Scopey just got caught trying to help out. And then the stun really just pinned him in where he didn't want to be.
Yeah,
And he
possibly.
couldn't dodge the last basketball, which just cost him his life. 2-0 for Shockwaves now, and that's not what you want to really happen, especially with Ganondad just walking around like he's indestructible.
Again, I want to look over at the itemization here for both ADCs. ZakuZz once again going into that Aussie. On the other side, Fission is going to be going into that Devo's Gauntlet. So I think we're definitely expecting ZakuZz to be the one trying to out-pressure Fission once that first item does get completed, which, again, surprises me a little because when you're playing X-Ball, you're usually looking to be boxing out your lane opponent. That's when I feel like the Aussie would shine.
Oh, ultimates! Only one really
Unfortunate.
finds the connection. Reyhum gets out with his life.
A little unfortunate on the miss there. The Dueling Dragon's not quite poked into the wall enough to finish off the kill onto Reyhum. That is a dropped kill, and one you really can't afford to when you're down here in playoffs.
Gymkhana looking in, does secure the shield buff, I believe.
On the wrong side of the map.
But now it's just pinned in. This is not looking good.
Tried to make it under the tower, not going to get there before getting finished off by the members of Dark Omen. Now Scopey scoping out ZakuZz, who's forced into the ultimate. Waterhand's going to miss. Likely going to be back up by the time Ganondad gets here, trying to catch the kill onto the Rama.
escape.
They will do so. Can Ganondad, with the help of the Athena, though, finish off this Hebo with the cage? Certainly going to happen. Ganondad finishes off the jungler of Dark Omen, so it's only a 2-for-1 for Dark Omen here, but definitely a heck of a lot better than last game.
The fact that Dark Omen stuck around for so long for Gymkhana to be able to come back and ult in was just huge. It allowed Ganondad to really take advantage of Scopey being stuck there in the cage, and then stealing the speed buff too. Ganondad just has no shame or fear. And that's something, yeah, it's terrifying, especially when we got an Oden who's walking around knowing how to use those cages, knowing how to hit those bird bombs and those stuns. Ganondad's just a terror right now, and Dark Omen really kind of needs to figure out a way to deal with him, or it's just not going to go well.
Do you think that maybe the limited amount of clear that this Odin has without the bird bomb could come back to bite him should someone maybe try and catch him at one of these camps?
I don't think so. I think Ganondad kind of has it played a good kind of idea of what he's handling here, how he's doing it. With the Transcendence now out to be stacked, the Eye of the Jungle. I think the Bird Bomb can do almost anything that Ganondad needs to do as well for clear. Because you saw how well it did against Royal too. How just a magic trick that worked on that early health bar just disappeared, and it's just it was amazing. And Ganondad really has the ability to just kind of run with this game right now.
Production highlighted the pickup of a Phalanx over here in the solo lane for Forerunner, who it just seems has been completely forcing Seismic Shockwaves, the solo laner, back into the tower. But SwagMaster is still managed to fight back a good amount. I think that Berserker's shield is definitely proving pretty helpful for that. Darkest of Nights gets dropped as the ultimate comes out from the ADC of Seismic Shockwaves. Fission manages to somehow avoid that last shot. And so now the chase back onto the ADC, dashes out of the way right before that ultimate comes through. Now BigBlue just trying to chase down this Rama, who looks like he is going to get out, just using the ultimate. Fission getting chased down as Reyhum rotates over to left and throws that ultimate through. And all the meanwhile, caught out in the jungle was Royal. Ganondad finishes him off, and Seismic Shockwaves are showing dominance around the map.
I didn't think that was gonna connect. I saw him in the corner there, and I'm like, this might be a whiff. I'm not 100% sure. Just deleted. Absolutely deleted. And that was such a big turnaround, too. We saw ZakuZz was really in a bad spot, and coming down, had to dodge out every ability, got caught in the Seismic Shockwave of Geb. and just beads the stun out and walked away. The tidal wave used from Scopey just kind of gave ZakuZz the safety that needed to know, alright, nothing big's really coming. And it was just a huge turnaround by Seismic Shockwaves. Dark Omen kind of needs to really go back to the drawing board and think how well they're gonna be able to kind of come back, kind of devise a plan. Because Seismic Shockwaves is really starting to run away with this, but Fission being aggressive can't secure that purple buff though. ZakuZz not looking too good.
Yeah, forced back under towers. Barely going to
Oh,
live,
no.
but BigBlue is hoping to change that. Trying to take him into Fission, is going to get the kill for himself there. Is he going to make it out from under tower? No.
Will not.
No damage being put through. He still gets only killed by the tower,
Oh.
but caught out in the jungle here. Scopey, can he finish off the kill onto Ganondad? The water hands back up, not in time. They do come up at the very end, but they barely miss the Oden, and now Royal is the one caught out, forced to burn the beads, trying to throw some damage at Reyhum through the wall, who's going to charge up the ult and then decide, maybe not, just waiting the setup here from his support as the damage continues to come through. Fission is trying to finish off the Thoth, but instead the ultimate comes through barely, misses that X-ball, but Fission just walks into the wall, not able to make it away from the members of Seismic Shockwaves.
Fission definitely got very bloodthirsty there. There was no reason to stay. Especially when your mid was out. And is it Yu Huang, right? So just a lot of safety in that god. Just give him a little bit of distance so you can run away. Fission just wanted that kill onto Reyhum, and it was kind of obvious. Overstayed his welcome, to say the least. And one of the things I want to say is the big issue with Yu Huang, as you can see, is the dueling dragons. It just how niche it is where on market needs to be. It could be really big, but only if you kind of set it up just right. Meanwhile, with Thoth, you just kind of need to just line them up for it. You don't need to line two things up and hope they kind of get in the center and crash right. No, you just need, you set up your line, your sigils, and you just charge up and let it fly. Scopey just needs to get next to someone and shotgun the tidal wave, right? Whereas Yu Huang requires a little bit more nuance with that. It doesn't give the same damage either. So I think it's kind of some of what they're going to end up dealing with. But Ganondad pulling out a lot. The tidal wave down and the seismic shockwave down, but I don't think he's going to be able to get out.
He is. The ability is unfortunately going to end up missing him, though the dot damage from the X-Ball is finally enough to take that Oden out. Put him back in the grayscale, and Reyhum being run down here. BigBlue trying to finish off the Thoth, instead is accidentally going to end up giving the opening here for Seismic Shockwaves to dive his backline. The Rama comes through and is running down the enemy ADC. Reyhum, though, with some damage through the wall, is able to take the life of Scopey, and it's just a 2-for-2 here as BigBlue is once again seeking out this Thoth, who is going to have the dash up and is going to be able to make it out. Forerunner has rotated, though, all the way over here to left, trying to catch out this Thoth, who's just walking over to this left-hand lane. Forerunner maybe looking to catch him. Blue gets the shutdown there. Maybe not the person you wanted it on, but hey, at least the Thoth is dead.
We do see the Thoth really taking advantage of that Spear of Deso, though. With 5 kills, all the cooldowns that Thoth's been able to get off of that one item is just huge, as well as the boost from his own book. But that whole last fight is similar to what's happening right now. Ganondad just getting caught out, getting just too aggressive, and there's a full team now. You can't keep doing that. They're going to keep picking you apart, especially with the ADC who's just going to drop damage on you. So Ganondad really needs to be a bit more careful.
Also needs to be careful here is Forerunner running at ZakuZz, still paying no heed to the support beside. And why? Because his team is on the way. Doesn't see Reyhum yet. And so is just going to end up backing here.
And it's a very tight game, but I feel like it's tight for the wrong reasons, at least kill-wise. With a 9-7 in favor of Seismic, there's about, actually, in gold-wise, it's gotten there, and XP. But Seismic Shockwaves had the advantage that they had last game. I think now it's too much aggression. They're taking fights that they don't need and fighting over essentially nothing. We saw Ganondad get caught in the back camps and just die, and then set up the rest of his teams to die. This aggressiveness is starting to punish the Shockwaves. The advantage they had, the lead they had, is now just kind of gone. Because they're just choosing dumb fights, and SwagMaster dies under his own tower. Not looking good, but Ganondad does find a return kill on Scopey, but both teams are going to clash on this Fire Giant pit. What's going to happen? Anyone can really guess.
The knockup immunity has just been exquisite here from Ganondad on the Odin, using it to great effect, and now trying to run down Royal on the Yu Huang. BigBlue trying to block. Instead, not going to get the body block on the spear. Ganondad is going to thread the needle there as Forerunner tries to run down. This Thoth is taking too much damage in the process, but ZakuZz gets finished off in left. It is fireworks across the map here in this game 2 as Reyhum just seemingly undivable. In the backline here is Forerunner trying to throw some damage through, but rooted in place. And so is going to get his life taken away. BigBlue might not be long for this world either. Trying to get up into that rollout, but the taunt is there to cancel that movement ability. Reyhum credited for the kill there. And the Geb being 3, 1, and 4 at that point does kind of hurt. Just maybe worth a bit more than you would hope for if you're on the side of Dark Omen. Has a level lead on his mid too.
My big question for anyone right now is, well, what did that really achieve? All the towers are really still up. Dark Omen did get one tower on dual lane, but no objectives were taken. The map state didn't change too much. That was just fighting for fighting's sake. And it did kind of go the way of Shockwaves. They did kind of come out of it, being 13-9 now. But it's just, the gold is just still essentially the same, with only a little bit going in the way of Shockwaves. I want to see more objective play. I want to see more purposeful team fights. Because these team fights are just, I see you, I'm attacking, and that's it. That's all there is.
Forced to ult away. Ganondad is trying to chase him down, but not quite going to reach him. Scopey needs to be careful, though. He steps up, goes for some poke, and Reyhum says, hey, I've got more range than you. Finishes him off. And now Royal gonna fall right after. Ganondad is going to make it out, and BigBlue, this Geb, big and slow, trying to wander his way back under the tower. Fission, though, is here. It has been a shining beacon of light for his team throughout this match, but BigBlue is still going to end up losing his life, and despite the damage that Fission's able to output, it's not going to be more than 4 members of Seismic Shockwaves here in the mid lane. Oh, no.
Don't re-engage, don't re-engage. Oh, it's...
Oh!
Sky! ZakuZz gets a sneaky snipe, and that's what Fission gets for overstaying his welcome. But I want to see a Gold Fury out of this. Make it, like, get more than just a T1 mid tower. And that's what they need. They need to just start pushing this to actually procure a lead. They do have a 3k gold lead, especially with that tower taken down. Gold Fury does go to Shockwaves, but Scopey's coming here to clean up, and it's not looking too good. Misses the wave! Oh, what's gonna happen now?
Oh, no!
Oh, Scopey does fall to Ganondad! Unfortunate.
Too many shields on the side of Seismic Shockwaves. You just can't shoot through all of that shield HP without either waiting it out or just doing too much damage, right? And the Hebo at the level he was, you're really not able to shoot through that HP bar as fast as you want to.
Next objective is going to be the Stygian Beacon, which I think the Dark Omen really should prioritize. They have 2 around mid. It should just be an easy pickup, but it looks like Royal's going to prioritize the red more so than the Stygian Beacon, which I gotta say, tisk, my friend, you really should be going for that. Here comes a 3rd member of this party for Shockwaves, and now the Stygian Beacon is going to essentially be given up. Just going to be Fission and BigBlue trying to take this, and I really want to see more put forward from Dark Omen.
Dark Omen just struggling to really step up to these objectives. Fission comes in and he's using his body on the front line. A little surprised here, still dealing some really great damage, and Forerunner being in the fight now is going to be a big deal. He's been a driving force in the previous game and in this one, but a beautiful Athena double taunt. Fission just trying to make his way through. Dueling Dragon!
Big Dueling Dragon!
Absolutely massive! It is a 3-man
Oh, no.
wipe for Dark Omen, and
no.
Reyhum looks like he's going to be shortly to follow. Forerunner goes in. BigBlue gets credited for that as ZakuZz is getting chased down. And Gears, it is a deicide in the favor of Dark Omen.
This is the aggression we're talking about. Shockwaves just kind of... They had the numbers there, but then when the rest of Dark Omen showed up, they should have backed off. They didn't have Reyhum. that big damage, the final judgment wasn't there to really back him up. And as that fight started, you just saw Shockwaves kind of be getting to half health, and most Dark Omen were still pretty fully healthy. So that team fight wasn't really necessary. It was more important for Dark Omen to get that beacon than it really was for Shockwaves. So maybe back up a little bit so you're not just diving in, because it's an 18-minute fire giant. Luckily, it's not EFG, and with a whole bunch of towers up, Shockwave doesn't have too much to worry about now. The weakest one is just the T1 in solo lane, so you kind of just leave that to die. Shockwave really kind of needs to reevaluate how they want to go to team fights and just communicate more, organize it a bit better, because that did not look good.
Forerunner over in the solo lane, both in the previous game and in this one, has just been such a massive thorn in the side here of Seismic Shockwaves, which is why they're putting so much attention over here to try and take away his life. Dazzling Offensive doesn't get the stun. They're trying to line up another Athena taunt, and finally going to take the life of the solo laner. Dark Omen, though, secure the Pyromancer. Ganondad in the mid lane. Are they going to look to get aggressive, yes or no? It seems like the answer is no. Dark Omen still only ahead by a little bit without your solo lane. You have to be careful. Seismic Shockwaves are on their way here.
No.
And BigBlue looks like he might have just been caught out. Massive three-man Cataclysm, though. Some damage being returned by Fission, but the Odin Cage is good to put him in some trouble. Damage being returned still by Dark Omen, but the Dueling Dragons, it's patered once again. It's a three-man wipe yet again as Reyhum, wherever we've seen this same song and dance before, getting forced down. Now, at the very least, not in death's door is ZakuZz pushing down that left-hand side, but that opens Dark Omen up to push down this mid lane.
That was a big cataclysm for Geb. It really just shook the whole thing around. And I don't know. It seems like a lot of beads were on cooldown, so it was just a perfect timing. It was just a perfect timing that the Geb caught with that cataclysm. Was just stunned them all out. They couldn't do anything and really opened up the free damage. Yu Huang really making me eat my words. A lot of great dueling dragons for Royal right now, just showing how well that ultimate can be when you can hit it correctly, where you just pull whole teams together. But ZakuZz up in the air trying to get snipes, doesn't find it. Seismic Shockwaves is coming in to steal this Gold Fury.
Very split positioning here for the members of Dark Omen. They have 2 in right and 3 here in left, just trying to make it out alive. It seems like the priority, though, for Seismic Shockwaves is this Fury, as the split push in right is going to be abandoned. Both the frontliners are here. Geb's Cataclysm comes through. Is it enough? Shockwaves managed to secure the Gold Fury. Is there going to be fight on the back end? Reyhum is separated from the rest of his team, but this Thoth has enough damage to make people think twice about chasing him down. Fission trying to scope someone out, but it looks like Dark Omen get here in force just a little bit too late.
I'm going to say this so we understand, and no, you didn't get away with it. But one of you on Shockwaves dropped the bomb on nothing in that fight. I saw it. There was a lot of chaos, but I still saw it. The pyro bomb was used in that fight. Someone fat-fingered a key. I don't know who, so you're safe for now, but I saw it.
Maybe they were trying to place a ward, accidentally forgot that was not a ward, in fact, the other kind of deployable.
Yeah. But that was a very important Gold Fury for Shockwaves to try to get back into the fight here. Oni Fury really allowing these waves to kind of push up on their own and forcing Dark Omen to prioritize any point, any wave, kind of knowing where they're going to be. Or at least if you keep them away from a wave, like, all right, let's try to keep them out of dual lane. Or we know they're going to be in dual lane, so let's just start pushing somewhere else and taking advantage of the fact that they have to deal with those Onis. And it's a little reprieve for Shockwaves, but I want to see better team fighting out of them because they have the opportunity to really take this, but it seems like they're getting a bit sloppy, and Dark Omen's really just starting to put it together. Big ultimates by Royal, Scopey's hitting those tidal waves, and Forerunner is an absolute menace, full stop, causing the chaos that us solo laners love oh so much, and just splitting everyone up and just doing insane amounts of damage, and just causing so many problems. So I gotta say, Dark Omen really needs to kind of find a solution to this. They really need to find a way to just turn on Forerunner or ignore him completely, and it's hard to do when you're on Osiris. A lot of slows and that stun, as well as the leap into a root. Amazing pursuit for Osiris. So Seismic Shockwaves really need to kind of address that and find a way to either kill him or make him a non-factor in way, shape, and or form.
Well geared Pyromancer, full gear by Dark Omen. You do manage to secure it, and the Fire Giant is back up. So as both teams posture around this FG, do you think we're at basically an even point of the game?
Well, we're all hitting level 20 right now. All the builds are starting to kind of finalize, so I think it's about even. Just a matter of who can really take this Fire Giant is really going to have the advantage.
Where did Forerunner's HP go? Just evaporated into thin air.
A lot of just basic protection items coming out for Forerunner. Just a lot of shields, no real big commitment to any type of real physical. So, a lot of damage, but you're kind of sacrificing for protections. Though, with the Titans coming out in right lane, that kind of stalls a Fire Giant fight for a little while, unless the Shockwaves can take down the Titan and force Dark Omen to either address the Titan or the Fire Giant. This might be huge for Shockwaves.
Definitely a very, very big windfall for the Seismic Shockwaves here. They got a full health Titan pushing down right. And now Dark Omen need to decide whether they want to try and push down the members of the Shockwaves or defend, or if they're going to try and split hairs and do both. Athena with the ultimate is coming in. BigBlue has to be careful. A little bit overextended here, and the Geb is going to start to get burned down. The Odin Cage drops, and look, there's no Phantom Shell to come save this support, but he's just sitting there. Finally goes down, but a brilliant Dueling Dragons put some damage through. Scopey, though, in the back line, had took so much damage. Rama is forced into the ultimate as Forerunner is just trying to push down this ADC. The abilities are going to be good, but the Bird Bomb, just look at that massive damage. SwagMaster in a duel here with Forerunner. Forerunner's going to end up on the better end of that trade. Fission is going to get the kill here onto Athena, thanks to the branching bolas. And now, it's just running his way through. The beads are good here. Can Fission get the kill he needs to try and extend this fight a little longer? Either way, he's wasting time, but through the wall! Reyhum hits the ult almost blind.
That was huge. Like, Reyhum's just been amazing with these ultimates. They've gone through, like, 2-3 walls max range, and you're never really safe. I heard him charging that up, and I was sitting there wondering, does he even know where he is? How close is this shot gonna get? And
check
that was that was a really nice shot. But we did see Shockwaves take advantage of the fact that they got the Titan down early, because we saw that Fission was forced to deal with the other Titan, leaving it at 4v5, and Dark Omen was stuck. They didn't have the damage they needed to take care of a whole bunch of things. So the damage was kind of left on the table, waiting for Fission to get back in. He got there and he cleaned up, but he also got cleaned up himself. So it was nice. Dark Omen was able to kind of stall it out, but they didn't really get anything from it. We didn't see a Fire Giant taken. No tower was taken. I think it's hard to really say. Maybe I don't think they probably could have taken Fire Giants, but they probably could have done a bit more or something with that advantage, because right now the game state's essentially the same as it was just 5, 6, 7 deaths ago.
Fission needs to be so careful here. Gets caught out by the members of Seismic Shockwaves. Forerunner runs in to save his ADC. Is going to take half his health over that, actually, in the process. And now this just gives Seismic Shockwaves an opportunity here to start pulling a Fire Giant. Instead, they're just going to be waiting. And Fission, I just can't get over how he keeps stepping up himself just to place these wards as Royal gets caught through the wall. And I don't think this Yu Hong is long for this world. The Dueling Dragons ain't going to save you, bud, as the mid laner for Dark Omen is going to fall. The Odin Cage comes down, but this is some huge damage coming out in return from Dark Omen. Ganondad falls, but the jungler is low still, though, with 2 healthy frontliners and the Osiris with ultimate. They're pushing in. Osiris is trying to get as much damage as he can on the backline. Scopey actually rejoined the fight, but ZakuZz was not able to finish him off. The ADC is going to fall, and suddenly Dark Omen are the ones with the advantage here. Reyhum ultimate goes through and hits Fission, and that is the damage that you needed to get off the table. Scopey with the shields coming through from Geb is only able to live a little bit longer. Reyhum comes up huge in the 11th hour in this fight with a TP back in. Forerunner wants to try and finish off this Thoth versus 3. Is he going to be able to do it? Osiris, pretty good god, but I don't think he's going to be good enough against the likes of 3. Is able to finish off Gymkhana, but the additional damage from these players is just going to be a little bit too much. But Gear, I don't think they can do the FG.
They can't, but I want to see him try to take this tower. That poor Fission was coming back into that fight. He's like, I'm here, guys. I'm here. Just absolutely. Just trumped by the final judgment. I don't think he even knew it was coming. Just like it's like that freeze frame moment. Like at this moment, he knew he screwed up, and it just erased. But this fight,
you're wondering how I got here.
Exactly, yeah. That's me. I bet you're wondering how I got here. But that fight seems to last. Nothing's changed. No tower's gone down, but it looks like Seismic Shockwaves might get a gold fairy off this, and if they do, I'll consider that enough to have changed to consider it a win for the Shockwaves. That last fight was huge, and ZakuZz had Scopey down, and it was just so unfortunate. Couldn't hit an auto, and in comes Fission to finish off the job, and that's just such a feels bad moment if you're ZakuZz. Because he had that 1v1 and just couldn't make that last auto. And it cost him his life, really. And it could have turned the whole thing around for the Shockwaves. One thing I want to point out, though, was there was an Odin cage. And it got knocked down just in time as Scopey tidal wave through it to do damage. Because we saw that Fission was able to knock it down with the autos just in time for that tidal wave to move through and just completely obliterate Ganondad.
Who gets this? It is going to be Seismic Shockwave securing it, but in the process they lose a lot of their health. Odin Cage gets dropped here as BigBlue just trying to stall for time. This X-Ball is putting through so much damage here, but it's not enough to save the life of the Gab. And now Scopey trying to find some kills in the backline. He ults through, doesn't get anything with it. ZakuZz gets the kill there, but ends up losing his life in the process. Fission walks up maybe a little bit too close. Dueling Dragons aren't able to save his life. And it's disaster striking for Dark Omen. The damage just was not there. And Forerunner, despite how much he's done this game, is not going to be able to do enough to keep these team members off of him. But it looks like they're not going to end up going for the Fire Giant here, going for this T2 tower. But I can't help but feel like they might look at that objective after this tower's gone.
I think they can probably look for the Phoenix, honestly, but yeah, I don't think they can win here. But with that one minion, they could definitely take this Phoenix.
Oh, wow.
And I would say you go for the EFG after this. Yeah, big time. You kind of want it, maybe give some time for ZakuZz to get back up and start it. You know, Scopey's on a 9-second timer, and you have some space, but they might just be at a bit of a disadvantage. And I don't think they're able to actually start this EFG. They're going to go for this second round of Stygian Beacons, and almost all of Dark Omen is back up and full health. So, no, Fire Giant's not going to get taken. And I can't say, it's hard to say. I understand the heat of the moment, you want the Phoenix, you got the minion, you can take it. But I can't help but think Fire Giant would have just helped swing more fights in your favor. There's no way you take this Fire Giant now. You're just kind of throwing the whole game if you try to engage it and not think that Dark Omen's going to show up. The T2 was necessary, but the Phoenix might have been a bit greedy and kind of cost them this Fire Giant, where the Fire Giant could have gotten them more Phoenixes in return. But it's just, it's anyone's game right now, but BigBlue's getting caught out with the rollout. Can he make it out? And he does.
Just barely able to do so, and I mean, just how many times are Dark Omen just going to get caught out in the jungle like this? They're not grouped up. They're getting picked off one by one, and this is how these fights get lost. This is how you give Seismic Shockwaves the pressure that they so want to pull this EFG.
They're going to end up starting to pull this EFG, but you got to be very careful. There's a lot of secure for Dark Omen in their favor, but it looks like it's just going to be a bait. Forerunner being the target, caught in the cage, no leap, it's in trouble.
Oh, where'd he go?
Ooh, that's 2. Gonna make it
Scopey's-
3.
Scopey just disappears, so does Fishin. And that is 3 members gone from Dark Omen. Their other 2 just trying to run back into their base, but run all you can. They're gonna get caught here by Seismic Shockwaves. Ganondad just trying to finish off the Yuhuang while the rest of the members do that FG. And look how much damage that Bird Bomb deals. Goodness gracious, Gear. As Royal's forced to burn the Aegis, is going to get the kill onto Gymkhana, but losing his life. Ganondad is going to fall. So that's actually EFG off 2. But Forerunner is now the only one left to defend against a Thoth, an Ama, and a Rama. Rama. Huh. That rhymed.
Ama, I don't know. I was trying to say Rama Mania or something like that, but it didn't work. So this is huge because they're just going to start taking these Phoenixes, and if I'm Shockwaves, I'd probably start looking maybe at the last standing Phoenix. But with all these timers, no, never mind. Scratch what I said. The timers are definitely too low. Scopey's up, and so is BigBlue. A big Cataclysm into a Tidal Wave is not going to do you any favors. You don't want to lose that hard-earned EFG. It does suck that Ganondad and Gymkhana died. Luckily, only one of them was the really important one. That you're the least important one to die with EFG. Gymkhana didn't really need it, but Ganondad could have definitely found it helpful with a speed buff or speed boosted attack speed with his spear ability. Maybe he could have split push. So that's very unfortunate that Ganondad kind of went for the kill and got caught. Was it as important? I don't know. I feel like maybe that he could have gotten out and maybe taken advantage of it, but it also kind of pulled him away from that right Phoenix, opening up the map a bit more for his team. Now Oni Furies are out as well as being enhanced by Fire Giant. So these are actual waves you need to put attention to. You can't just let the Titan deal with them or your own minion waves. It's not looking very good for Dark Omen. They really need to protect this mid Phoenix with their life and just kind of try to keep some balance back and tip the scales in their favor in just any possible way. But I think Seismic Shockwaves kind of have this game on lock.
Well, Gearchief, we are
Pick up
at
the bomb.
a place where Seismic Shockwaves
Pick the bomb.
have quite the advantage.
Pick up the bomb.
I
up
I
the
wasn't
bomb.
gonna say anything, but
All right, pick up the
okay,
bomb.
there, you happy?
You got it. You got it. You have no idea. It's such a big pet peeve.
Seismic Shockwaves pushing down this left-hand lane, looking to take this healthy Phoenix from Dark Omen, while split push happens in the mid lane. I wonder just how fast these Phoenixes are going to fall, as the mid Phoenix looks to be the first on the menu, and it's going to go down near instantly. As the left Phoenix now is the target. Fishin has to pop the ultimate and all of his relics, and he's trying to get out, but SwagMaster is going to chase him down in the dazzling offensive. Royal now looks to be the next target, and he is not going to fall. Instead, SwagMaster loses his life. Forerunner, though, is going to go down. BigBlue is next to follow. Scopey tries to get the kill there onto ZakuZz. Not going to happen. The Phoenix, though, is down in every lane. And the Titan is the only thing left, but with 2 members up and low HP bars for Seismic Shockwaves, it looks like they're going to wait for the healing from this EFG, wait for these fire waves to push in, and try to go for the jugular and end this game.
So Scopey was forced out with the tidal wave, and that was huge because now you don't have to worry about that big damage. But you still have to worry about the arm cannons and the knock-up. Here comes the blink. Finds a knock-up, and he gets the tidal wave back. It just deletes Reyhum and punishes him for staying a bit too long. Honestly, there's no reason for Reyhum to be there. The rest of the team had just decided to disengage, and you gotta kind of let the fire minions do their thing. You've really opened up the map for your own team for that next EFG, the next Gold Fury, all that stuff, the next Beacon. So there was no reason for Reyhum to be here other than overconfidence and, honestly, greed.
A little bit of an overstay there might cost the Seismic Shockwaves here. Still, Reyhum looks like he's going to be back up at the time this FG does come around, so really when that's going to matter most, you are going to have that mid laner. Notably, the Phoenixes are set to respawn here in the right lane at least for Dark Omen. The one in the mid and left definitely going to take a bit longer, so ticking clock here on the members of Dark Omen as this base is broken.
I don't... So the Phoenix, at least they have one Phoenix up to try to kind of gain some ground. But it's not really... The most important Phoenix is that dual lane one, because it forces all of Dark Omen so far away, or at least part of them, to pull him out of the Fire Giant fight. So it's a big issue right now. I don't know how well they're going to be able to handle it. They're going to maybe teleport off of Forerunner to kind of compensate, or maybe try to stuff the wave up as far as possible and just make the Fire Giant fight quick. But Seismic Shockwaves is picking it up, and the confirmation from the Thoth, it's just going down. No contest at all from Dark Omen. And I don't think they really could. It was too much pressure in all the lanes. And their best bet is a big defense here. Some sneaky hits from Royal and some shadow stuff from Vision. I think this last fight's going to really determine the game. And it's going to happen soon. This bird is not long for this world at all. We're just looking for someone to step up, someone to do something. And I would say that time was on Dark Omen's side, but it's really on Shockwave's side as the minions come in, but here comes the engage.
Dueling Dragons gets pretty much nothing here as Fishing gets forced back by SwagMaster. Forerunner is all the way in the middle of every member here of Seismic Shockwaves, yet somehow just waltzes his way on out. But Fishing is going to get blown up by Reyhum's ultimate. Ganondad, though, has to be careful. Going to get axed there by the Titan. Reyhum finishes off the jungler, though. And so 3 members left here for Dark Omen. Can Forerunner make it back under the Phoenix? Ultimate gets dropped by BigBlue. It's not enough. As the Titan continues to swing in its defense, Royal takes so much poke here from Reyhum. He's lining up something, trying to get some damage through the wall. Reyhum takes a lot, and a great knock-up from BigBlue is going to save that Yuhuang from any follow-up with the minion waves. Pushing in onto this Titan. Jim tries to go in, and the damage is just coming through onto this Yuhuang. It's coming through onto the Titan, and it's going to come through and a 2-0 win. And Seismic Shockwaves advance in playoffs. Well, what a game there from Seismic Shockwaves. A lot closer than the previous one. Definitely had its ups and downs. Dark Omen had a very, very good shot of winning that, but Seismic Shockwaves, a lot of it off the back of those massive Thoth ultimates from Reyhum, definitely found their way to stay in the game and then take it away.
Those came out of nowhere, too. It was amazing, just max range, just blow up in your face. And poor Fishing, man. He found the end of every single one of those. It was just... What? That is
the most damage in a game I've ever casted.
That is more than double almost anybody else's. The only person that isn't more double that is would be Forerunner, who's in the front of every fight. 21-3. Those ultimates were huge. And poor Fishing, man, he found himself on the edge of every single one of those. Like that last fight, I saw Fishing die, and I'm like, that was definitely a final judgment. I look over, and sure enough, Reyhum's ultimate was gone. So it was just crazy. And you thought like, oh, they got out safe, and final judgment just completely flattens them. Reyhum was a huge component of that entire game. And the big issue was Forerunner was in the back and giving Reyhum issues. But the rest of Dark Omen couldn't really take advantage of Reyhum being incapacitated by Forerunner, and then Forerunner just got collapsed on by the rest of the Shockwaves. And then forced him away, and then that was it. So Forerunner was doing his job, but no one was really there to kind of take advantage of it. And Scopey was a big present with the damage, but unfortunately didn't really get as much as they wanted. Kind of showing why Hebo is a bit of a feast or famine god in some of these instances. But we can't downplay how much Reyhum just was absolute menace, shooting through walls and just really abusing the Thoth. And without the fear of Odin, that you could it's two totally different Thoth games. and where you see Royal being chased down by Ganondad, unfortunately not able to do anything, versus Reyhum's 21-3, top damage by far, and just completely controlling the game.
And what an excellent game that was there from Seismic Shockwaves, from Reyhum, and every member of that team. Still, brilliant effort from Dark Omen, really showed up in the second game. Unfortunate what happened to Fish in there in the first one, but you got to take those, and I think Seismic Shockwave definitely showed that they have what it takes to move on in this playoffs bracket. That's going to be all for us here today. As always, I am Cabbage. I was joined here, thank you, on the cast here by Gearchief, as well as the beautiful iNooblet on production. And I want to thank you all for tuning in and watching the Smite Draft League. We've got more playoffs matches coming up for you in the near future, so stay tuned and have a good day.